Hello, I'm Tom Wilkinson, and welcome to the Thinking in English podcast, a podcast aimed at intermediate to advanced level English learners. China recently announced the world's strictest limitations on children's ability to play video games. On this episode of Thinking in English, let's look at what these new restrictions are, investigate why they have been introduced, and examine some of the potential consequences. Are video games really bad for children? But first, why not follow the Thinking in English Instagram page, Thinking in English podcast, or the link is in the description. I post regularly on there and it's full of great vocabulary content. And you definitely should look at my blog, thinkinginenglish.blog, for all of the transcripts and some extra bonus content. Here is today's vocabulary list. As always, the written list is available in the description of the podcast and also on my blog, thinkinginenglish.blog. Inspection. Inspection. Inspection is the act of looking at something carefully or an official visit to check that everything is correct and legal. As in, her job is to carry out health and safety inspections of buildings. To crack down. To crack down. This phrasal verb means to start dealing with a bad or illegal behaviour in a more severe way. As in, the library is cracking down on people who don't return their books. Culmination. Culmination. Culmination is the point at which an event or a series of events ends, having developed until it reaches that point. For instance, winning first prize in the tournament was the culmination of years of practice and hard work. Excessive. Excessive. Too much. For example, excessive exercise can sometimes cause health problems. Monopolistic. Monopolistic. Having or trying to have complete control of something, especially an area of business, so that others have no share. For instance, the company is accused of monopolistic behaviour. Gore. Gore. Gore is a word used to refer to blood, especially from violence or injury. For instance, it's a good film, but there's lots of blood and gore in it. Loophole. Loophole. A loophole is a small mistake in an agreement or law that gives someone the chance to avoid having to do something. As in, billionaires have been using tax loopholes to save money. Unlicensed. Unlicensed. Not having a license, which is a document giving legal permission for something. For example, unlicensed software used by businesses costs software developers millions of dollars every year. Detriment. Detriment. Harm or damage. As in, are you sure that I can follow this diet without detriment to my health? Earlier this week, China announced that it was imposing the world's strictest rules and limits on video games. Children and teenagers under the age of 18 will be allowed to play for just 1 hour on Fridays, weekends, and holidays. Moreover, according to the National Press and Publication Administration, game playing would only be allowed between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. Alongside these new restrictions, the government is instructing gaming companies to prevent children from playing games at any other time, and is increasing the number of inspections on game companies to make sure that these rules are being enforced. These rules are designed, in the words of the government, to effectively protect the physical and mental health of minors. China has been cracking down on online gaming over the last few months. Currently, China's video game industry is the largest in the world, with annual sales of 46 billion US dollars, and around 2/3 of Chinese children are thought to play online games regularly. Online games have been described as spiritual opium by the country's national media, and rules already existing from 2019 had previously limited children's online game playing to 90 minutes per day, rising to 3 hours on holidays. In July, the company Tencent introduced facial recognition technology to prevent children from playing games between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Now, the even stricter rules recently announced are the culmination of concerns regarding the impact of excessive gaming on youth and teenagers. In fact, a recent article published by the government-sponsored Economic Information Daily argued that many Chinese young people had become addicted to online gaming, and it was having a serious and negative impact on them. This article actually caused the share prices of many of China's biggest gaming companies to fall dramatically. After years of capitalist business expansion, the Chinese authorities have started to go after some of the nation's largest technology firms. These firms have been accused of abusing their monopolistic power and misusing data. Furthermore, after school tutoring businesses have been banned, and billionaires are being pushed to have more social responsibility. Video games have been a concern in the country for over a decade. For example, themes such as politics and gore are regularly censored by officials, forcing foreign game companies to edit or change their games if they want to sell in China. Although China has had rules limiting gaming time since 2019, those rules had a number of serious loopholes. Despite the country's anti-addiction system, requiring people playing games to use their real names and their government ID numbers to play online, children and teenagers could use adult identities or visit internet cafes that did not follow the law. This is why tougher legislation has been introduced, asking companies to do more to prevent children from accessing such loopholes and bypassing the restrictions. What will be the consequences of the new rules? So far, the short-term impact doesn't seem too serious. China's two major gaming companies, Tencent and NetEase, suffered a slight drop in share price. In reality, children are not that important to the profits of major Chinese companies. Although there are around 110 million gamer children in China, they do not have much money to spend on new characters and items in games. Tencent have announced previously that actually only 2.6% of their entire gaming revenue comes from players under the age of 16. So, in the short term, the impact on business may not be too great. Children don't contribute much money to these companies. However, the long-term consequences could and probably will be much more serious. Although children may not spend much money at the moment, they are definitely future customers. If the restrictions are effective, Chinese gaming giants could see their new customers run out. Many adult gamers fall in love with video games and get the habit of playing video games regularly when they are children. If this doesn't happen, then these companies could see severely reduced numbers of players in the future. And it is not just Chinese companies that are at risk. Western games, such as the immensely popular Roblox, which are aimed explicitly at younger players, have launched in China. Roblox, I think, launched earlier this year in July. Without children being able to play, these companies will struggle to be successful. Furthermore, there are still questions surrounding what China is going to do next. What is the next target of their restrictions? And how far are these restrictions going to go? It is clearly restricting people's rights and invading their private lives. China has, as I previously mentioned, recently also banned after-school tutoring. And this gaming ban as well shows a pattern of increasing regulation and other invasive acts. China has a grey market for foreign games. The grey market is the name for the sale of items unofficially, and in a way that the original maker of the items doesn't want. I guess we could say the white market, although we don't really use this term, is the legitimate official way of selling something. For example, you buy it from the official shop. The black market is the illegal way of buying something, maybe without paying tax on it, or buying something that was stolen. The grey market is in between. It's not illegal, but you're not buying it from the official supplier. You're not buying it in the official way. The grey market for games in China connects Chinese gamers with foreign games usually unavailable. For example, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is an immensely popular online shooting game, is thought to have sold around 20 million copies in China, despite lacking official approval. And around 50 million Chinese gamers are believed to use Steam, an online shop for PC games run by an American firm, that for some reason has not been blocked by the government's internet providers. Earlier this year, Apple already removed tens of thousands of unlicensed games from the Chinese version of its App Store. It is possible that in the future, this grey market could be completely shut down. Are video games actually dangerous to children? Well, there is evidence that playing games has both benefits and potential dangers. Video games can improve children's learning, health, and social skills, but there's also research that implies video games could lead to disrupted sleep, media addiction, and violent behavior. In China, the big concern is that children are becoming addicted to gaming, which is to the detriment of their academic and social lives. What young people see as an enjoyable hobby can negatively affect schoolwork and social interactions. In many ways, it is similar to a gambling addiction. In America, there has been a long debate over whether games are linked to violence, but research has never discovered a firm link between violence in games and violence in real life. On the other hand, video games are apparently good for helping children develop problem-solving skills and improving the way people think. So here is today's final thought. On this episode of Thinking in English, I have talked about China's new restrictions on video games. They are by far the strictest limitations and regulations in the world. Do you think China's new rules are a good or bad thing? Do you think rules like this are unfair? Or are they justified to protect children? Should governments be able to interfere in individuals' ability to play games? Are video games actually bad for children? How long should children be allowed to play games for every day? What do you think? Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review or rating, recommend it to your friends, or let me know on Instagram. My Instagram is thinkinginenglishpod. The link should be in the description. And make sure you check out the Thinking in English blog. I love hearing from listeners, and I really appreciate all of the messages I have received over the past few months. Feel free to send me a message or give me some advice or recommend a topic. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.